So you look early on with Ignition, right? We were using SQL databases, pretty foreign to a lot of the folks, the integrators and engineers that were building systems, right? They knew, for example, they knew Factory Talk, or they knew, WinCC, or they knew Simplicity, or whatever it was, right? Wonderware. They knew those products, and that's what you need to know. You need to know how to build in there. You didn't necessarily need to know anything outside of that. Um, and we started bringing IT technologies in, right? It meant that now the experience, the integrators have to have is certainly bigger, right? And you have to be able to support and maintain databases. You have to understand now kind of, security and between the different products and how you integrate those. So it definitely, the needs of integrators, the experience, like sort of what they need to know had to expand quite a bit, as these technologies are coming into the OT space. And what we found is that what a lot of integrators, were doing, we're just hiring, computer science engineers out of college who knew databases, who knew how to build, knew Python, who knew how to build applications, didn't know the OT space very well, and but was able to teach them that side, right? Teach them what PLCs were and how all that works, and have them paired up with a controls engineer to be able to build these kind of systems. And they were very, very successful with that, right? And you saw the types of applications that were built were bigger, and there was more features that were possible, especially they can together answer those questions like, can I do this? Yeah, we can do that. Whereas when you get somebody who didn't have that expertise, they would be focused more on just the basics of like HMI SCADA, right? And just focused on that. And it would be built to be very static, right? And in terms of like, if I had, for example, if you had two machines are identical, wouldn't build it with object-oriented programming. You just build it with two different screens, right? So that those kind of that knowledge had to expand, and these technologies kind of forced that, as it came in. So that was, I think, there, and it's definitely changing now even more, right? We can get into sort of how it's changed today and into the future, what that's going to look like. But at the end of the day, integrators have always had to provide that. Think of the full solution, right? The full stack. And what we're doing is by bringing IT technologies, that stack has just gotten larger. And so their knowledge, their expertise they have to be experts on everything, right? And that's hard for one person to do all of it. So where I've seen people be successful is they bring in specialization, right? And have them work together on teams, when it's possible. You always have, people who can understand kind of everything, right? Who are more generalists and can put those solutions together. You always get folks like that. But if you're, a small integration company, especially if you're attacking larger projects, you want to be able to have people who have different levels of experience that where they can all contribute, right, to that team. So, for example, having somebody who understands SQL, the SQL language, which is not necessarily hard to learn, but it's if it's not been your world for a long time, it's hard to write the more complex queries, right? Sometimes if you have joins and groupings and special things you want to do for creating certain kind of dashboards, having that expertise certainly, somebody who can write that and write it in a good way, right? Write a query that's going to be performant versus one that's going to be really slow and all that. So, somebody who's a generalist will know how that works, but having somebody who's specialized in that piece can actually then add a lot more value ultimately, right, to the overall application. And yeah, even with like scripting, we've seen integrators who have people coming in who like know Java or Python and also know some object-oriented principles. Those translate pretty well into like, into Ignition, like if you look at UDTs or templates, and or building scripting functions, right? They're typically, they know how to build that more, and they can build those frameworks that then, if you build that framework, then you can have other folks use that framework and deliver an application pretty fast, right? So I think that, ultimately integrators who have been successful, the one bringing in that expertise where they can put it all in the same, on the same team. What's changing is there's more IT technologies that are coming in, right? So you've got now, look at just the introduction of cloud and, or different kinds of, time series databases, data lakes. You got like AI and ML tools, whether it's something that's on premise or whether it's in the cloud. You've got, you got things like MQTT. You've got all these. There's so much more, right? That these integrators have to be knowledgeable about, and also on the UI side, like building front ends, you have to have people who know how to do user experience and UI design, because I've seen a big shift now where there's a focus on building the interface correctly, and to the people that are going to use it, right? Versus just the engineer who's putting it all together. They'll just think of it and they'll build it out there, right? Rather than focus on like, I'm going to interview these folks and make sure we get the right interface to the right people. And so that UI UX has changed. So I mean, it just evolves so much with the technologies that are there. It's harder and harder for one person to be able to to know all of it.